Let it shine, let it shine.
The wall is so important, and you know it does work. All you have to do is ask your friends in Israel. It works. It's really effective. But I mean a Trump wall. I don't mean a wall that you knock over, you kick it through. That you knock over, you kick it through.
They don't know it yet, but they're going to great leaders, but they're going to pay for the wall. On day one, they're great people and great leaders, but they're going to pay for the wall. On day one, impenetrable. We will begin working tall on an impenetrable, beautiful southern border wall. Powerful, beautiful southern border wall. We will use the best technology, including sensors that's including above and below ground. Remember sensors that's the tunnels below. Remember that above and below.
Hundreds of companies are lining up to build President Trump's border wall. Nearly 300 are hoping to be awarded the contract. Customs and Border Protection is asking them for designs and a wall prototype. The Department of Homeland Security expects to award the initial contracts as soon as April. But is there a more high-tech solution? One company out of southern Arizona is bidding for a contract that has technology that could build the borders without building an actual wall.
The U.S.-Mexico border, over 1,500 miles of desert, rivers, ravines, and more. Building a wall across it has been a central promise of President Trump, but the president hasn't gotten his wall yet, amidst backlash, lack of funding, and of course the fact that it would be a logistical nightmare. If Palmer Luckey, the man who founded the VR startup Oculus, has his way, he will give the president a wall, albeit a virtual one. His company, Anduril Industries, is trying to sell the government on using virtual reality as a solution to stopping people from illegally crossing the border.
Because you're talking about a little bit higher than that. Meaning, if you get up there, man, there's no way to get down. And it's going to be a beautiful wall because someday they'll name it after me, and I want it to be beautiful.
Donald Trump, for just about as long as he's been running, has told us there's going to be a big wall, a great wall. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be bigly. In fact, let me quote Donald Trump for you, but this is one of dozens, hundreds of times that he said it. He said there is going to be a, quote, impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Build a great wall on our southern border. That's a Trump wall, beautiful wall. I will build the greatest wall that you've ever seen. If they ever put my name on, I want a gorgeous wall. The Trump wall, oh, will that be a beautiful wall?
The government shutdown is now entering its fourth week, and neither side has moved much. The president has been arguing for the past 3 years that the United States needs a wall on its southern border. Agree with his positions or not, Trump has explained why he believes that repeatedly and in great detail, most recently in a live address to the country. Democrats, meanwhile, have argued the opposite. America should not have a border wall, they've said again and again. But the difference is they really haven't explained why. At various times, Democratic leaders have told us that walls don't work, walls are racist, walls are wasteful, walls are insufficient, walls are excessive, and walls are too old-fashioned. Walls are either medieval or ancient, depending upon who's reading the talking point at the time. Some of these arguments are semi-real, others are transparently fake. Still others flatly contradict one another. Rhetorically, the Democratic case against walls has been a mess from the beginning. At one point, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tried to bring order to the chaos by flatly declaring that walls are immoral. She said that repeatedly with the force of a religious edict, which in effect it was. But in the end, the theology of it all was just too complex. It seemed to confuse people. How can walls be immoral if a lot of those who oppose walls have walls around their own homes?
A wall is an immorality. It's not who we are as a nation. And this is not a wall between Mexico and the United States that the president is creating here. It's a wall between reality and his constituents, his supporters. He does not want them to know what he's doing to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security in his budget proposal. He does not want them to know what he's doing to clean air and clean water and the rest in his Department of Interior and of EPA. He does not want them to know how he is hurting them, so he keeps the subject on the wall. He's a master of diversion. We're trying to open up government. We're giving him a mature path to do so, not in our language, but in the Senate language.
If a lot of those who oppose walls have walls around their own homes, that was a tough case to make, even for a persistent faith leader like Nancy Pelosi. Finally, Pelosi just gave up. Yesterday, she accepted the inevitability of a border wall. But here's the catch, the hidden trap door in the space-time continuum that Pelosi is famous for in Washington. Yes, Democrats now support a border wall, but no, it's not the kind of wall you had in mind, the kind of wall you can touch or the kind of wall that might keep unwanted people out of your country. It is instead a digital wall. It's a massive, invisible edifice constructed entirely of virtual ones and zeros that reside in some Amazon server farm somewhere in suburban Virginia.
It's an old way of thinking. It isn't cost effective. And the fact is, as Congresswoman Lucia Robo-Allard said, there are things we could be doing at the ports of entry. First of all, if you want infrastructure, we need more infrastructure at the ports of entry. If you want to detect drugs, as we all do, then there is a technology that can scan these cars coming through. If you want to detect drugs, as we all do, then there is a technology that can scan these cars coming through. We're spending about $40 million. We should be spending about $300 million to do that, and that's by the Border Control people's own numbers. So there's so many things that we can be doing to maintain who we are as a country. You don't live on the border, maybe some of you do. It's a community with a border going through it. And if they're saying that these drugs and this or that are largely coming through the ports of entry, beef up the ports of entry to do that. But there's no reason. The wall, in my view, is an immorality. It is, again, a waste of money, an opportunity cost to protect the American people. But it is a diversionary tactic on the part of the president. And now he wants to use the shutdown of government as taking these public employees, and not only them, but the people who are served by them, hostage to his wall. Thank you all very much.
Our system basically, which relies on laser sensing, works day and night in any weather condition. And it can do so without the need for a physical wall, because it's a virtual perimeter security solution. we're looking at about $1.5 billion for the entire U.S.-Mexico border, which is well below the lower end of what a physical wall would cost.
Wall of the future, in other words, a wall that Google might build and probably will. Pelosi calls it a technological wall.
We are proposing is to build the infrastructure of the ports of entry, strengthen that, the ports of entry. Spend the money, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, but accessible to have the scanning technology to scan cars coming through for drugs, contraband of any kind, weapons even. Repair the roads to facilitate immigration and trade in those regions. The positive, shall we say, almost technological wall that can be built is what we should be doing.
Of course, a technological wall. A technological wall. Why didn't we think of that? But wait, you say, aren't all walls technological walls? The only difference, of course, is in the kind of technology they employ? Well, yes. But before you get hung up on some semantic point, just be grateful that Pelosi is using the W word at all. There was a time not so long ago when she was telling us that a fleet of lawnmowers would be enough to secure the border.
Let's talk about where a more serious structure might be necessary, where fencing will do, where mowing the grass so that people can't be smuggled through the grass.
Well, at a certain point, you begin to wonder if Democrats are really as serious as they say they are about wanting to secure our border. Maybe you've asked yourself that question. Well, wonder no more. They are not interested, officially. Democrats support our immigration crisis, which they will be quick to remind you isn't actually a crisis at all, but part of the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Democrats' main interest is in continuing the status quo, and they want to do that by making certain that no effective barrier is ever built along our southern border. To achieve that, Democrats and their faithful lackeys in the press will say anything, literally anything. Yesterday, to name but one among many examples, Democrat Katie Hill of California, member of Congress, accused the president of engaging in a form of terrorism for disagreeing with her.
It gets more and more frustrating every single day to see how irrational he is, and we can't accept this anymore. To me, this is political terrorism.
Terrorism? Maybe that's next week's talking point. Check the Sunday shows to see if it makes an appearance there. This week, the phrase was vanity project. The wall, they're telling you, is somehow the president's vanity project, like a remodeled basement rec room or the Clinton Presidential Library. Some consultant thought up that line and emailed it to Pelosi and Schumer, who made certain that every Democrat in Washington included it in virtually every publicly uttered sentence for a period of at least 24 hours, which of course they were happy to do, being robots. Watch.
A construction brigade for the president's vanity project.
Doesn't necessarily require our building a vanity project concrete wall.
For one thing, this is a vanity wall.
The president is holding it up because of his vanity project. The president of the United States has a vanity project that he doesn't want to give up.
He's spent on the issues that impact them every day, not on the president's vanity project.
This issue is about a vanity project for this president.
Right.
Vanity? Well, that's a new concern in Washington.
Well, the president knows that I'm looking at every variation on the theme, and I have no doubt when I go back to him and say, you know, boss, wall makes sense here, fencing, high-tech fencing, makes sense over here, technology makes sense over here, I have no doubt that he will go tell me to do it. Oh.
Called Sidearm. They're out of Sierra Vista, and they're one of many companies hoping to be awarded a contract to protect our borders, but they want to use drones and seismic technology to track people, cars, and small aircraft crossing the border instead of a physical barrier. Now here's how it works. Instead of the wall, Sidearm has solar-powered sensors installed along the border deep in the ground. They connect with drones in the air to monitor changes in the ground and air vibrations. They can detect people from about 300 or 400 feet away, detect cars from about 1,200 feet away, and detect a small aircraft even farther. Once a signal is detected, it sends an alarm to the headquarters, and a drone is then dispatched to intercept that person, car, or aircraft. From there, the company is hoping to partner with Border Patrol and other enforcement agencies to provide this real-time data to stop illegal entrance to our country. Now, some have been concerned that this could incorrectly send alarms if a large animal was passing through the area, but Sidearm says they are working on algorithms to make sure that that is not an issue. The owner of the company says one of the biggest problems this does solve is protecting the border in places where terrain is too treacherous to build a wall. Pat and Sam, back to you.
Oh, so it's no longer a physical tall wall. It's a theme. It's the theme of a wall. Now, so some parts will actually be a wall, a little bit. Some parts will be a fence, which, by the way, is exactly what Hillary Clinton was saying. And actually, a lot of progressives criticize her for that. But you say tomato, I say tomato, all of a sudden, Trump's also saying tomato. Well, some parts will be a fence. But my favorite part is some parts will just be high-tech fencing. That doesn't mean a fence with a lot of gadgets on it. That means there actually won't be anything there. They'll say, well, we're monitoring it with cameras and drones and sensors. And we'll call that kind of a fence. We'll call it a high-tech fence. In other words, not a fence, and definitely not a wall. Now, more from John Kelly. He says, it's unlikely that we will build a wall or physical barrier from sea to shining sea, but it is very likely I'm committed to putting it where the men and women say we should put it. In other words, ain't gonna be a wall. So if you voted for Trump thinking he was gonna build that wall, basically he just came out and told you, we're just messing with you. All those liberals who told you that it was going to be too hard to build an actual physical wall, they were right all along. And now his Secretary of Homeland Security is saying, yeah, of course you were right. Of course we're not going to build a whole wall. That's ridiculous. Progressives were right all along. We won't build anything there. We'll just call it high-tech technology monitoring, which is kind of like a fence, but definitely not a wall. Aha! So yet another broken promise from Donald Trump. And if they ever get to putting up their fence or lack thereof, we'll send our reporters down there and show it to you guys. We'll show you that there ain't going to be a wall and that Donald Trump was pulling your leg the whole time. He was lying to you the whole time. He knew it. And he thinks you're a sucker. You just tell people what they want to hear, and you'll get their vote or you'll get their money. You'll scam them one way or another. And at the end of the day, by the time they found out they've been scammed, it's already too late. Well, kind of where we stand now. The real resistance is fighting against Trump and the establishment. Help us get investigative reporters that are going to investigate both of them. TYTnetwork.com/go.